So I want to do something a little bit different here. I've got 3 different turbine nozzles, and I thought it would be kind of a fun thing to look at the differences between them and just some of the things that make them perform differently. So over here on the left we have the Wessel Werk Tk 286, which to my knowledge is their premium nozzle. And it uses kind of an open turbine, as I like to refer to it. And then we have the gate down here. And then this brush roll actually floats. You can probably see that a little bit. So if the carpet's deep, it kind of pushes up a little bit more. And then we have the squeegee here, soft rubber wheels. It's a very nice turbine head. Cover back on there. And then this one, I can't remember exactly where I got it. I think it was Crucial Vacuum. It's a very cheap, very basic nozzle, but it does okay. The gate on here, I believe, is wider than the TK286, and while that creates more airflow, I think we'll be testing that shortly. I think more airflow runs through this because of the wider gate, but it has a lower speed to it. It seems like the smaller the inlet is for them, the faster they go. But this one too has an open style turbine to it, but the brush on here is fixed. It's only in this one position. It's also quite a bit softer than the TK286. But this one, I think I paid about 13 bucks for it at the time, and it's actually been pretty good. And there's also some air vents which are blocked off at the moment with a piece of electrical tape for the upcoming testing, but there are holes here, 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 and here. Now that there's an indent, you can see where they would be. And those holes just allow it to breathe a little bit better, because when a turbine nozzle seals down to the carpet, not only is it creating more resistance for the brushes, but having less air running through the turbine with such a large gate slows it down pretty dramatically. And then lastly, we have the most expensive of the bunch, the Turbocat EX. Now, unlike the other two, I did buy this one used, but I did replace the turbine in it, so it should be performing pretty close to optimally. This one is a little bit different from the other two because the turbine is mounted on its side. Let's see if we can get a shot of that. And unlike the other ones, it's not an open structured turbine, it's closed. So every one of those little curves in there comes to an end, almost like a little cup, if you will. And then brushes on here, I would say, are about as stiff as the TK286. But the thing I've noticed about this is, while I thought the air channel in here was fairly wide, the cover on here sticks out a fair amount, so it actually ends up narrowing this down quite a bit. And I think this actually has the narrowest air path of the bunch. It also seems like it has the best torque, and I've wondered if that's due to the size of the turbine, but that might be due to the short air path. But I have kind of an experiment I've wanted to perform with this thing, and yeah, it's set up very differently, because you have your inlet at the side here, and then it comes up here and it makes a 90-degree turn at the neck. Strange design. Definitely not a pretty setup, and I hope this works. I have attempted to kind of negate the nosediving smaller nozzles do, as in when I try to seal this off for suction, smaller nozzles will sink into this. So I've attempted to put some supports on either side where it's out of the way of the brush roll, and I'm just going to run this off my pneumatic Henry, because it's a good vac and it's not overly loud, and just for the sake of simplicity I'm not going to use the actual wands for this. So let's give this a shot and see if it works. So I'm suspecting that this one will probably have the highest amount of flow to it because of the large gate. But I know it has slower speed. Unfortunately, I don't have a tachometer to measure that with, so I am taking a guess. But I'm going to have to rethink this. Alright, we'll try this instead. It's kind of an ugly setup, and the seal on there kind of gets in the way. Well, maybe not. But hopefully this won't collapse in on itself. There's not nearly as much tape to do that, but I'm going to re-perform the airflow testing just because it's better to keep consistent. It's still got the nosedive, just kind of pulling itself into the box. Well, maybe I'd be better off just sticking to the airflow testing for now, because that's just not going to work. I really wish I had copied VacLab's later design with the smaller hole. That would have made this a lot easier. I guess I wasn't recording. So we'll do the TK286 next. I know this didn't work well last time around, but we're still going to try it. Yeah, I can hear that we're not getting a seal, because this wouldn't be running if we were. Still interesting to try, although I still don't think it's very accurate. I kind of wish I had copied VacLab's second design. Of course, this was actually created, I think, before that. But a second smaller hole would have made this a lot easier to test sealed suction. And now the Turbocat. It doesn't even produce enough sealed suction at the base of here to allow this to cling to it, which is kind of sad. But that is kind of the result of my last test on these things, was that the Turbocat had lower airflow. And I think it is due to a narrower air channel. I think this thing does move a lot faster, and it definitely does have more torque. It's much harder to stop the brush roll, at least using my fingers. Not that that's a good way to measure something like that, but I'm going to try something with this. Quite an ugly solution, really, but what I've attempted to do here is widen out the air path, because now the air path will be flush with the kind of rim on the cavity, instead of having it narrow off due to the shape of this inlet. That should allow for more airflow, but I think it's also going to decrease the brush speed and perhaps the torque. And now the modified run. It sounds a little bit lower in pitch. Increased by a little, not as much as I thought, but the suction's still quite poor. And I think this thing has low suction, not only due to the fact that it, has lower flow, because when you have higher flow, it's easy to create a pressure when you have, leaking spaces, because I don't think there's any sealant between this base plate and the housing, if I recall. But it was worth a try. I thought I'd try running this again. It seems illogical to me that it would have lower flow. This one's actually sealed up. We don't hear the turbine moving, but there's definitely a lot of air moving around this net and around the door to the turbine. Oh, that might explain it. The turbine door wasn't completely closed. Okay, now that we know we had a problem, why don't we try retesting the flow? That's better. Okay, I can't believe I didn't notice that the little turbine access door down here was still open. I guess I didn't close that when I opened it earlier. Well, I'm certainly glad I did run the retest on it. But now let's do a little bit of pickup testing with them. Just a little visible debris, just for fun. So what I'm going to do here is I'll just make 2 back and forth passes with each nozzle. These are just some oats, some oatmeal, and we'll see which one of them does best. I would assume the highest flow... Really? The highest flow nozzle will probably perform the... Get out of here! No! I'm assuming this nozzle on the right will perform the best on this with surface litter, larger particles like these, but if you were working on something like hair, you would probably want something with a little more Stop trying to eat that, you fatty. Ugh. Get out. He is such a little pig. He's trying to eat these. I know he would have eaten them too. But anyways, let's get on to this. And we'll let it get up to speed. And close the valve. That did a lot better than I expected. Whoops. A little bit of almost a line of shame, as our friend Roger in the UK likes to say. But it did pretty well. But let's move on to the TK286. You can tell the brush roll is not moving quite as quickly on it, but it still does a good job. And it doesn't appear that it's left any behind. Although you can kind of see where the belt path is on there. And then last we have this turbo brush. You can tell that it's kind of struggling a little bit. It has more airflow and therefore seals to the carpet a little bit more. So it's going to and as predicted, it did a nice job. Probably did possibly the best or second best. And I forgot that I had the front vent sealed off with a piece of tape. Amateur hour today. Oh, we got some snow plowing. Kind of the risk you take with something like that, I guess. The more you seal to the carpet, the more snow plowing you may have. Well, they're not going to be the best edge cleaners, but we can see that the cheaper one actually did leave some stuff behind. It's funny, it seemed to do a lot better with those vents sealed, although it definitely wasn't spinning its brush quite as much. Obviously, with it sealing to the carpet, there was less airflow coming through the turbine with the vents closed. But, I mean, you know, for what, 13 bucks I paid for it way back when? It's decent. You just got to have a powerful enough machine to run it. But the TK286 is definitely a lot more kind of premium, if you will. It may not have quite as much airflow, but it definitely provides a good balance between the airflow and the brush roll speed, or whatever you would call it, the agitation. And then we have the Turbocat. It definitely has the best brush torque, so I mean it would be difficult to stop, but it's not quite as convenient as the other two, not only due to its size, but it lacks a squeegee, so it's not really usable on hard floors, as to where both of these do a good job with hard floors. But yeah, just my little assessment of the three. Hopefully somebody found it entertaining.